Hello and welcome, developers. My name's Shay, and this is another episode of Shay Develops. In this episode, I wanted to do a live coding session where we build a drag and drop interface. It won't be super fancy or anything. It should be you can drag some stuff from one section and put it into another. And the reason this is like a live coding and not just like a regular video is I haven't pre yeah, I haven't done this before, so could go terribly, terribly wrong. Let's hope not. Maybe so. Who knows? Anyway, so I've already Googled HTML, let's say drag and drop, and I went to the developer.mozilla.org because it's a really good place to find information on being a developer, right? Just like my videos. Oh yeah, go watch them things, like and subscribe and stuff. All right. So HTML drag and drop interfaces enable applications to use drag and drop interfaces in browsers. The user may select draggable elements with the mouse, drag those elements to a droppable element, and drop them by releasing the mouse button. A translucent representation of the draggable elements follows the pointer during the drag operation. If you guys hear that, I'm sorry that I actually think you guys hear it. My dog is snoring. May occasionally hear that on the microphone. All right. For websites, extensions, and XUL applications, that is yet, you can customize which elements can become draggable, type of feedback the draggable elements produced, and the droppable. Nice, that's exactly what we want. So then we have some drag events. So we drag and drop using the DOM event model and drag event inherited from mouse event. Okay. A typical drag operation begins when a user selects a draggable element, drags it to droppable element, and then releases the dragged element. Makes sense. So here's our stuff that we can do. So you got dragged for on drag, on dragged, drag, okay. On drag, then dragged item enters a pop chart. Okay. So let's create our page here that we want to have. So first we want the div wrapper, and then we want div dot container one with div dot content. All right, and then I'm going to copy that. Make another one. This will be container 2. And it is not going to have any content yet. So then what I want to do is drag the content. Actually, I'm going to get rid of this as well. So we're just going to have the container. It's not going to have the content or anything. So I want to drag that content from container 1 into container 2. And that's the what we're going to do for this video. And this is really distracting me. Dog snoring. He's so loud. And he's right behind me. All right. So neither drag start nor drag end. Oh, that's drag. Oh my goodness. So I don't know what I was trying to read here earlier, but yeah, I'm smart. Okay. The drag event interface has a constructor and one data transfer property, which is a data transfer object. Data transfer object include the drag event state, such as the type of drag being done, copy or move, drags data, one or more items, MIME type, that good stuff. The drag event and data transfer interfaces should be the only ones needed to add HTML drag and drop capabilities to an application. Sounds pretty nice, right? We just need drag event and data transfer. So now we just need to figure out how do we use these drag event and data transfer. Firefox supports some Gecko-specific extensions to the data transfer object, but those extensions will only work on Firefox. We're not going to worry about those. Each data transfer object contains an items property list of data transfer item objects. A data transfer item object represents a single drag item, which each with a kind of property, either string or file, and a type property for the data item's MIME type. The data transfer item object. Okay, this is a lot of getting into it. Let's take a look at the code here. So this is our JavaScript that it's got. It's got it within a script function, but I don't necessarily want to do that. But let's see what it does. So making an element draggable requires adding the draggable attribute and the onDragStart global event handler as shown in the code sample. Okay, so let's see where are they adding draggable? Right here in the paragraph it said this element is draggable. So the first thing that we need to do, not even worried about this script yet, is add draggable equals true to this this area. I'm also going to add an ID as well, just an ID of content, and then draggable true. And then we also need to add this bit of JavaScript right here where we have the drag start handler, which we're then passing an event, which saying the event is going to be a data transfer, which we're setting the data to the just straight text plain right here, and then ev.target.id saying, hey, I believe that's saying, hey, this is what's being dragged. At the target element's ID to data transfer object. So let's go ahead and create a script tag here. Let's call it new file, and we'll call it drag stuff dot JS, and we're gonna make sure we add it to our page here in a script. And let's just make sure that we are getting this with a sanity. Boom, sanity check. Everything is looking good. Got exactly what we want. And we're also using live server, make sure, and with Visual Studio Code. So if you're not familiar with those, they're really easy to set up. And I believe I did a video on setting them both up. So you can go back and check my videos, and that's a possibility that I've done that. All right, so we have drag stuff is working. So now what we want to do is come back over here to this function that it has. Let's just grab it because, you know, make it easy on ourselves. And then now we need to continue on with the developer. But let's actually, okay, so we have the drag start handler, so which we're passing the event, and then the event data transfer dot set data. This is allowing us to, or is it talking about there? It's allowing us to do the transfer. Yeah, each data transfer object contains items that data transfer interfaces should be most needed drag and drop capabilities to an application. Well, basically, it's what we need, that data transfer and the drag event, which we actually, I don't think we've got. Oh no, I guess this is the event right here where we're saying that it, that it's draggable. All right, let's continue on. For more information, okay. Define the drags data. The application is free to include any number of data items in a drag operation. Each data item is a string of particular type, typically a minor type such as text. Now, each drag event has a data transfer property that holds the event's data. This property, which is a data transfer object, also has methods to manage drag data. The set data method is used to add an item to the drag data as shown in the following. So now here, we're going to be adding some more stuff to our drag start handler. So already we're setting the data there. But then we also need to set the inner text, outer HTML, and the target owner document location. I need to reread that again. 100% sure what I just read. So feel free to skip ahead a few seconds, but I'm going to read this again. The application is free to include, okay, we know this is free to include any kind of MIME type, which is that's what's set right here. Each drag event, which is whenever you're dragging the item, has a data transfer property that holds the event's data. Okay, so what's going on during like what you're dragging and all that good stuff. This property, which is a data transfer object, also has methods to manage drag data. The set data method is used to add an item to the drag data as shown in the following example. Okay. So it's trying, where's the, it's getting the inner text, this is the draggable, getting that from text.plain, and then it's getting the outer HTML, which I means is I believe is getting this paragraph. And then the text URI list target.owner document.location.h. I'm assume that's where it was picked up. Maybe I was keeping track of location of where you picked it up. Possible. Need a list of common data types. Not at the moment. So you need to define the drag image. Okay. Well, first. Does this even do anything at the moment? With us, no, because we have no CSS and no nothing else going on. All right, so let's spruce this up just a little bit. Style sheet styles. A new file. All right, so what I want to do, probably just end up using Flexbox. So I'll do body display flex. And then let's see, we have the wrapper and then container 1 and container 2. So wrapper, going to now flex direction row. Background color. Island. Was it dot content, right? Or container 1 and container 2. That ID? That's just class. Probably set it to ID. We will here in a minute. Sure. Container 1, background color. Cornflower. And I'll actually probably do that for container 2 as well. But I also want to make sure that they're only going to be a certain width. But also want to border radius 5 pixels. Border pixels solid white. Adding 10 pixels. Max width 350 pixels. Yeah, I think that'll be fine. And then for container 2, I could put these together, of course, but I want to keep them separate for now because I may need that for later. So here we have flex direction of display row, and you see that these are still displaying column, max width, and min height 350 pixels. Oh, you know, 50. These two display inline. Leave. That's what I want. It is not entirely what I want, is it? So much up there. Oh, all right. Trial and error here. Okay, so display flex. I want to actually flex direction row justify content. Right, wait. So I'm gonna make this a little bigger here. And then I want to take our Take our containers. These are display flex and flex direction. Display flex on here. There we go. So the flex direction row, don't even need to have that. Just have display flex. Does it? All right, so back to our wrapper. Get rid of this. That's important. I really need to go back and relearn flex direction or just flex in general. I should probably do a video on that because it's pretty important as far as just like laying out a page. It makes things a lot simpler. Back in the day, it was far worse. Display flex. Now I want, so we have this max width. We should also probably have a mid width of 350. Sure, why? I feel like there's something wrong with that. Maybe I should just be like just setting a width of 350 pixels. But that works. Right there, we are looking okay. I have the two separated. And I just want to be able to drag one item in the other. And while it looks kind of like dog crap and I have no idea what I'm doing with CSS, which I'm be the first one to tell you that CSS is not my strongest language, but you do it is very easy to understand as far as like like creating your layouts and how to work with it. You're just not always sure exactly what attributes can work with other attributes. You just have to reteach yourself that kind of stuff from time to time. Anyway, though, so we have our drag stuff event listener, we have our styles, those things are working. Sort of our drag thing isn't working. But let's continue on. So we have this, it wants us to this developer.mozilla article as us with the event. We're data trainer, we're setting our data. I see drag in. Oh, setting an image as okay. We don't have a drag image that we're going to be using. I think it just means like, hey, to indicate that you're currently dragging this item. So, okay, then you have to define the drag effect, which I assume there's different ones. Yeah, we can openly have and see what different drag effect. Move, which we'll probably end up using. Copy. Even though copy could be fine. Then we also need to define the drop zone. All right, so this script here, then drag over handler, ev.prevent default. That's fine. That just whenever they're preventing default in this situation, it's because HTML doesn't allow you to just drag and drop stuff on top of it. It's like, no, that you can't do that. This is saying that, hey, yes, now we can. Right here is what I'm talking about. Okay, note that each handler calls prevent default to prevent additional event processing. this event, such as touch events or pointer events. For more information, targets. Handle the drop effect. Drag end. All right, and then we're at the end. Okay. Let's go back up to where we are currently at. Actually, yeah, it doesn't actually seem like it's all even. All right, so we've got this bit right here. It says we are making an element draggable, requires adding the draggable attribute and the on drag start global event handler as shown in the code example. So where is the on drag start in the code example? Got drag start, add event there, drag start, and then once that fires, it does drag start handler, which sets the data .target.id. And we have an ID. Yeah, ID content. Okay. Now here. All right, then we need to define the drags data. So ev.data transfer set data. For a list of common data types used drag and drop, such as text, HTML, links, files. Really, we just need the HTML, right? So if we can do ev.datatransfer.setData text/HTML ev.target dot I think we're going to use outer HTML in this situation. Sorry, quit talking. The people are outside mowing the grass. All right, outer.html, and then I kind of want to alert this just to see what's happening. But let's not worry about that yet and see if we can get this just working, right? So the application is free to include any number of data items in a drag operation. Each data item is a string of a particular type. Each drag event has a data transfer property that holds the event's data. This property, which is a data transfer object, also has methods to manage the drag data. The set data method is used to add an item to the drag data, so as shown in the following example. Okay, so I think we have the data that we want. So we're getting the ID, and then we're getting the outer H. So we'll see if this actually works. So define the drag image. By default, the browser supplies an image that appears besides the pointer during the drag operation. That's fine. We're going to use the default image. Don't care about adding a cool fancy image. If you guys want to, hey, I'll beg. I would do it later, but right now I don't have an image and I don't care enough to go find one. The drop effect is used to control the feedback the user is given during a drag and drop operation. It typically affects the cursor the browser displays while dragging. For example, when the user hovers over the drop target, Browser's cursor may indicate the type of operation that will occur. Three effects may be defined: copy, move, and link's the only one I'm here. Indicates that some form of relationship or connection will be created between the source and drop location. That's cool. We'll have to take a look into that. That sounds like it could create some really interesting stuff where you can kind of like build a map in between on your own. All right. So during the drag operation, drag effects may be modified to indicate that certain effects are allowed at certain locations. The following example shows how to use the property. ev.datatransfer.drop effect equals copy. We're not going to do that. We're going to do ev.datatransfer.drop effect equals move. That's what we want. More details, see drag effects. Define a drop zone. Here's the other part that we're missing. Oh, and we don't need to get element by ID. Don't have that. Get element by ID content. But that's gonna change. Sure, probably not. Totally doing what I thought it would. Okay, which is nothing. All right, drag effects. Yeah, we don't need. All right, define a drop zone. By default, the browser prevents anything from happening when dropping something onto most HTML elements. That's the main reason it wasn't working a second ago. Change this behavior so that an element becomes a drop zone or is droppable. The element must have both on drag over and on drop event handler attribute. So we need to set our element, this class, and this one too, I guess, because we'll be able to drag this and we need to be able to set it into whatever can back and forth, right? All right, so the element must have on drag over and on drop event handler attribute. So we have this function drag over handler that we need to add and drag and drop handler. Copy that and add it to our script section. Then we need to add this on drop, on drag over into our actual into the two divs that we want to have the items be able to be draggable from. Oh, I have it. Oh. There. All right. And oh, it works already. Wow. I was honestly expecting it to just totally not work. So yeah, this is my very first time building a drag and drop interface. Well, just drag and drop anything. I definitely wouldn't call this an interface, but just building something that allows me to drag and drop something quite easily. Now, I plan to take this and use it and build out something even more robust later on, like creating a course creator website or something where we can where they can switch up, like, oh, I want to talk about this first, or make sure that they read this first or watch this video. They can kind of like switch that stuff around without having like re-upload, whatever the case may be. So let's take a look at the into this. All right, so handle the drop effect. There's more. Okay. Note that each handler calls prevent default to prevent additional event processing for this event, such as touch events or pointer events. For more information, see specifying drop targets. Handle the drop effect. The handler for the drop event is free to process the drag data in an application specific way. Typically, in application, you get data method to retrieve drag items and then process them accordingly. Additionally, application semantics may differ depending on the value of the drop effect and or the state of the modifier key. The following example shows a drop handler getting the source element's ID from the drag data and then using the ID to move the source element to the drop element. So basically, it's getting a bit more fancy and getting the ID, then application my app. Okay. Oh, we're setting the ID of our application that we're moving the stuff. Huh. So at the end of the drag operation, the drag end event fires at the source element, the element that was the target of the drag start. This event fires regardless of whether the drag completed or was canceled. Should be able to move this or just hit escape and then it won't do anything. Okay. So definitely knows what areas are. See what it's got for a nice living standard demo here. Oh, or dragon fruit. That's cool. You know, I definitely want to build more into this, but for right now, this is just a live coding. The second time around, I want to have something a bit more robust, like an actual like learning, like educational thing. And we may do that. But for now, I'm gonna leave this video here and call this complete, and just to show you just how, I guess, how easy it was to really set that up. That just, I literally read through the H or the developer documentations for the HTML drag and drop API, followed along. Now I'm using the HTML drag and drop API to do that. Wow, so cool. Okay. Anyway, guys, like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to cover, but I'm definitely going to be covering something. All right, you guys take care. I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.